Good morning, fifth grade. This is Miss Laura, and I am going to be going through one of your math problems from day 68 regarding adding fractions and mixed numbers. And we're going to go through this problem together. It was a story problem about Mr. Williams taking his family for a drive, and there was a picture showing his vehicle, and in between there were stops that he made, right? And each time he drove, he went a certain amount of miles. And at the bottom, it asked you to estimate, explain how you got your estimation, and to actually solve the problem. So we're going to work through that together today. So Mr. Williams took his family for a drive. They started off at their home and they drove 2 1/5 miles. They stopped and again, then they went 7/8 of a mile. Then, when they got back in the car, they went 3 1/4 of a mile, 1 3/4 of a mile, and 1 4/5 of a mile. So I wrote all the numbers down to estimate these numbers. Now, remember, when you're estimating, you are not finding an exact answer. You're simply going to round those fractions to a whole number. So what I like to do is I like to think about a number line. Where do these numbers fall on a number line? How do I know which number they're closest to? Which whole number am I going to use? Well, I know that 2 1/5 is between the numbers, the whole numbers 2 and 3. So if I have my number line here and I'm breaking it into fifths, 2 1/5, these are all 1/5, 1/5, that would be 2/5, 3/5. Okay, so I have 1/5 right here. So I can see from looking at my number line that 2 1/5 is closer to the whole number 2. Okay. Now, if you wanted to do a number line for 7/8, 7/8 is not even 1. So this number falls on a number line between the numbers 0 and 1. And I know that 7/8 is almost 1, so I'm going to go ahead and round it up to that whole number 1. 3 1/4. On a number line, that would be between the numbers 3 and 4. And if I had broken this into fourths, I would know that 3 1/4 is closest to the whole number 3. 1 3/4 falls between 1 and 2, breaking it into fourths. 3/4, that's closer to the whole number of 2. And 1 4/5 on a number line falls between the numbers 1 and 2 as well. And I can see that 1 4/5 is going to be the closer to 2. So now I've estimated my miles by rounding to the closest whole number, and I can go ahead and add these together. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. And then 8 plus 2 is 10. So I can estimate that Mr. Williams drove about 10 miles. Now, on the second part, it asks you to explain your answer. And an adequate answer there would just be to simply say, I rounded my fractions to the closest whole number and I added them together, and that is how I got 10 miles. That would be perfectly adequate for that explanation. The third part of this is that you're supposed to actually solve by adding all your fractions together to give an exact answer. And so what I want to do, and this might be where some of you got a little bit flustered or maybe even confused because you're like, wow, that's a lot of mixed numbers, fractions, and they all have different denominators. And you guys know that we can't add or subtract without a common denominator. So what I want to do is look and see, do any of my fractions or mixed numbers have a common denominator? Well, I noticed that they do. 2 and 1/5 and 1 4/5 are common. So I'm going to actually solve those first. I'm just going to add those together. 2 and 1/5 plus 1 and 4/5. And I'm going to add my whole numbers first. 2 plus 1 is 3. And if I look at my fractions, then I have 1/5 plus 4/5. That's 5/5. Well, you guys, this is one whole. So it would actually be 3 plus 1. And your answer here is going to be 4. So 2 and 1/5 plus 1 and 4/5 is going to be 4. Okay, now I solved for that. Is there anything else that has a similar denominator? Well, there is. 3 and 1/4 and 1 and 3/4. Those denominators are the same. So let me just see if I can add those together. Okay. So I'm going to add my whole numbers first, which is 3 and 1. So I get 4. And then when I add 1/4 plus 3/4, I get 4/4. Again, that's a whole number, guys, and that is a 1, right? So 4 plus 1 is 5. So if I look at this, 3 and 1/4 plus 1 and 3/4, it is equal to 5. Okay, now let's see what I have left. I have 7/8 left. So I already solved here. So I know he went 9 miles by adding all that together, and there's still 7/8 left. And all I have to do is add 9 plus 7/8, and I get my final answer, 9 and 7/8 miles. And what I would do is I would look at my answer and I would look at my estimation, and I see that they're pretty close. And I feel like what I did by adding my common denominators together here worked out really, really well. So that is how I would go about solving a problem like this. And hopefully this video will help you guys out. You can always watch it again. And of course, if you have any questions, just let us know.